Statement win for Michigan State in a weird game, but still a heavyweight match. And my goodness gracious, joining us to talk about it is Dave Klein. It is a party. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week. Please rate, review, subscribe, and let's have a celebratory Sunday, okay? This got a lot of us, Michigan State, Detroit Lions fans out of the dumps because Michigan State wins 80-78 against a real solid Illinois team. I know they're ranked 19th in the nation. A lot of metrics have them in the top 10. Torvik has them at number 4. Regardless, it's a really good team in Illinois. Now, DK, I just got to rattle off a few things. It was a weird game. Like, no Kasparis, Yanka, whatever his last name is, I always screw it up. His box score said 9 minutes. It felt closer to 9 seconds, but regardless, Michigan State just 8 fast break points. They were out-rebounded by 1. Second time this season they were out-rebounded. They were just 10 of 21 on layups, 29% shooting combined from Fears, Akins, and Richardson, and they only made 3 3-pointers. How on earth did this team win this game against a team as good as Illinois, DK? I know the Illinois answer is referees, which we'll get to that in a little bit, but what's the actual answer? How did Michigan State win this one?
Yeah, I think it really was the perimeter defense in the second half. This is a kind of streaky shooting team, I would say, for Illinois, but we've seen them get hot in bunches. And I think that some of the adjustments the staff went, we started with a 3-guard lineup. They went bigger to kind of end the second half, and we kind of saw them stick with that throughout. They really only played mostly 2 guards just because of some of the mismatch issues that they ran into. But I thought that they just did a way better job on the perimeter. Yes, KJ was out of this game, and does he make a huge impact the way that he has size, his passing ability, his shooting ability, all of those things, 100%. There's no doubt about it. You saw it in some glimpses, right, late in the second when he kind of came in, and Michigan State was up 6, and then they went on a little run with him. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all I've heard all offseason and all kind of throughout the season is how talented Illinois is, how deep they are.
Right.
And that wasn't the case today. Really, I think to a certain extent that they got exposed. I think KJ is very, very special. Yes. But when he's off the floor, who are you going to turn to? Well, they turn to a guy that, has played some big-time basketball over at Arizona in Killen Boswell. I thought they had him in hell for most of the day. I thought Fears did a nice job of him. I thought the rotation, Holloman, Akins. So I thought that they did a nice job just generally of turning the water off in the second half. For all kind of the rest of that squad. So I think it really was ultimately on the defensive end. I think that they didn't do it perfectly, but they started kind of collecting stops and ensuring that when a shot went up, they were only giving them one opportunity. I think there was just too many chances. And then they found some extra opportunities, I think, themselves. And again, some weird lineups for Michigan State down the stretch. Yes. You saw like a 7-point lead, like evaporate. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, get this lineup off the floor, like go offense to defense or something. But I think all around, like the contributions that you got from the guys that you needed to tonight, Holloman was fantastic, closes the game down. I thought Carr, again, was like pretty spectacular. That drive and finish slip that he had in late. And I just think that this was, again, kind of just like a gritty, grindy, like Michigan State's not going to win pretty when they're playing a team that has maybe more talent than them. And I think that that's the case with Illinois. So this to me was just kind of a staple, bite your teeth on the floor and figure out a way to win. And they were able to do it again. So
vintage Michigan State. Yeah, no, I do want to talk about the Yakachonis fella, if I'm saying his name correctly. Incredibly talented. Like, yes, just 9 minutes, but you can see his impact. You see how this is going to be a different game once this is kicked back down to Champaign later in February. But I do just want to stoop down to the level of talking about officiating, because that is all that seems to be the talk of Illinois fans. Even going into this game, like they had the preconceived notion that the refs were going to bail Michigan State out, and which I guess is fair because Michigan State was in the bonus with 12 minutes to go in the wait, no. DK, I'm sorry. That was Illinois that was in the bonus with 12 minutes to go. That's right. And, well, the free throw disparity had to have been wide, right? Let me just check the box score. No, 27 free throws for each team. So I'm sorry they called fouls on Kasparis for running into the back of Frankie Fiddler, which is a foul 10 out of 10 times. I'm sorry he's not allowed to drag down Carson Cooper. Okay, yes, the hand checks early on. Guess what? Soft foul. That's also been a foul in Big Ten play for the last 15 to 20 years right now. So I'm sorry, Illinois fans. But yes, you guys just straight up lost because Michigan State was the deeper team. And look, I rattled it off right at the top here. Your guards, Fears, Akins, Richardson, not great from the floor, just 29%. You lamented how great they were defensively, which is 100% correct. But with all that said, like, who was the MVP of this game if it wasn't one of those three guards? I think it's very easily Tre Holloman, right? Or is there anyone else that sticks out for you other than Tre, who had a team-high 17 points tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think everybody kind of had their blips and their moments when we needed a bucket. I thought Jace only finished with 4 points, but I think the couple of the buckets that he hit were like kind of loud in the second half. They needed him to find, some paint touches and go down. Again, I think Carr was kind of in that mix, and then Fiddler hit like some big buckets that like step in three off the action that they ran. You're only going to hit 3 threes a game. Every three is a big one. So I think again, this was kind of a win that we've seen from this team. And I get from other people's perspective that it wasn't like the prettiest, like it's not aesthetically pleasing to see a team take 10 threes and not make very many of them. But I thought that the game plan, again, after they kind of shot some early, was to get down on the hill, get yourself to the free throw line. I just thought they were aggressive in the paint all night. And I thought Illinois did a pretty decent job of defending the interior like they have been. They're one of the top 2-point defenses in the entire country. But Michigan State just kept hammering themselves in it. It felt like the guards were going down there and willing to get into some of that trench warfare. And I thought that this was a game where Michigan State's just grittiness ended up kind of surviving it. The depth and the grittiness kind of carried them above when there was some not so pretty moments in spots of the game.
I thought it was outstanding that, they really bit the floor when it came to rebounding because it was a pretty wide disparity in the first half. I think it was like 24-16. 25-17 disparity in the first half. But, Illinois at the end only out-rebounded them by 41-40. So, that was a concern in the first half. That was one of the, battles within the games that we were all looking forward to is how are they going to look against one of the better, if not the best rebounding team in the nation with their length and physicality. I came away still, even though they've lost the rebounding battle, pretty inspired in this metric. And it's not like, we had any questions about the rebounding. It's just, what does it look like against an elite level?
Yeah, and I think the first half it was pretty rough, and I think the second half they were better, and some of that was personnel-wise. It's tough when, Will Riley's 6'8", and he's going against Jace Richardson, who's 6'2", or, vice versa. So I thought all around, they corrected some of what they needed to kind of even that out in the second half.
No doubt. And we're going to cut it to a little break here. We're right back with DK in a hot second. First, need to talk everyone's ears off about Prizepicks. This message is brought to you by Prizepicks, the place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions in winnings. Prizepicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports, whether it's the playoffs or regular season. Prizepicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action if you can still muster up enjoyment for football. Anyway, now it's playoff time. If you still are involved in football, here's how it works over at Prizepicks. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, well, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. Ready to run your game this NFL football playoff season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Like, hey, this weekend I went Lamar Jackson, more than 250 passing yards, and Travis Kelce, more than 70 receiving yards. When you download the app, again, guys, Locked On College to get $50 instantly after that first $5 lineup. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prizepicks. It's Prizepicks. Run your game. And also, guys, FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, guys, America's #1 sportsbook, and for a reason. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel is making the NFL playoffs even more exciting. And for new customers, it gets even sweeter because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, that's $300 to keep the action going. Now, it's easy to navigate, and my favorite part of FanDuel is that you get paid instantly, right? You're not waiting for the next commercial break or, later on that night to get paid. No. That's in your account stat with FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, unofficial sportsbook partner of the NFL. Now, I got a broad question for you, DK. What does this win mean for you? Because, of course, you could take the route of, okay, Michigan State, they stayed perfect in Big Ten play, while one of their toughest competitors, Illinois, is now 3 losses into their Big Ten season. You could also look at it this way. JBR Bracketology on Twitter said Michigan State is a lock for the tournament now. DK, gone are the days where we are sweating our you-know-what's off in March and hoping that we win some late February games to cement our status. But either of those doing it for you, or is it just the fact that, hey, you know what? All the naysayers that said Michigan State is only winning 10 in a row because they're facing bad teams, no, that kind of legitimizes what they're doing here. So what did this win mean for one Dave Klein and special guest, DK's child? Let's go. Join in the mix.
DK's child. Yep, Ophelia's made it. She's, as you heard her squawk in the background, I figured it was easier this way.
Everyone's got opinions on this game, man. Everyone. I get it.
Since she's been home, she hasn't seen a loss. So,
Oh, let's go.
Yep. I know. It's big time. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's hard to maybe have a full evaluation of this because you didn't get to see them play against KJ. So I do think if you're looking at this in a full round out, I don't care. I'm not excuses for losers. We won the game. I don't care the way in which we do it. Right?
Just be deeper. Just don't foul. That seems easy to me. So
exactly. And so I would have liked to see, I guess, what that looks like with them. And I know we're going to get to see that in Champaign. And I think that what Michigan State needed to do to win a piece of a Big Ten title this year was split with Illinois, split with Michigan, beat Purdue at home. You do that, I think, and you kind of take care of the rest that you need to, particularly at home. With the way that the schedule's broken out for you so far, I think that you put yourself in it. So for me, this win is you've put yourself into the driver's seat to control some of your own destiny for it. This program is built on hanging banners. It's been a bit of a drought, and I think that we agree that generally the tenets of what this team is back. In its essence, this team has refound kind of the foundational part of what this program has been over the years. I don't think that the top end talent is as good as it has been in vintage Michigan State teams, but I also think that they're, collectively have found a way to use the depth to their advantage, the strength and number stuff. So for me, this is, you've put yourself in the driver's seat. You need to continue to build on this. Take care of the next 2 games. You go into MSG, been a house of horrors at MSG.
I hate that building.
Rutgers is playing a little bit better, and then you come home to Minnesota. So if you can find a way to start 9-0 before you go to that West Coast trip, then you really probably have a 4 or 5 game breather over the last 11 to be able to drop some probably along the way. This team's not going undefeated, right? We know that.
No, of course not. No.
So I think that this was a crucial step towards Michigan State and us being able to come on here and say that this team is back, because to say we're back, to firmly say it for me, there's a banner going in the rafter, whether it's a regular season title, a Big Ten tourney title, or a Final Four banner. So I think that this was a huge win. I think it's clear that this team really loves playing with each other. And even though the top end talent isn't always there, the difference between this team and what you see in an Illinois, right, is they're not 100% reliant on one guy. So if that one guy goes out, that's problematic. Well, guess what? Tre Holloman hasn't really been scoring the ball all that well, and tonight he had 17 because Michigan State has 5 or 6 different guys that can give you 15 plus on a given night, and that is a weapon in some regards. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Just have to give Tre Holloman his flowers too. I feel like, I went a little light in that first segment, but without Tre Holloman, yes, the game total 17 points, of course, is calmness, which you can't put on a box score. What he did in that first half, 11 points, when Michigan State spent a good chunk of it down 7, 8, 10 points, he kept Michigan State somewhat involved in that game. So without Tre Holloman, I would probably go in the locker room down at least 8 points. It just can't be stated enough how important he was, not just for the whole game, but specifically that first half too, when things were getting a little rocky. Okay, it seems like we're also settling for too many jumpers. They eventually did get downhill in that second half, but he was that calming presence, both, off the box score and on the box score. So I like what you said, though, about the banners, because that's what we started this season with, is saying that for this season to be a success, it has to end with a banner. Now, that hasn't changed. I still think that, defines success. But what has changed, DK, So I also paired that with, I don't expect them to. That's going to be a tough Big Ten. They've got a lot of question marks going into the season. That's changed. Now I expect a banner now. Am I getting too ahead of my skis? Am I just getting a little too caught up in the moment after a nice home win under some albeit weird circumstances? Or like, are we using the E word? Is there an expectation to get one of the banners that you've had? Or do you want to see a little bit more of this February gauntlet on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation should, you're top the Big Ten by yourself. You're 7-0. You're in the driver's seat right now. So yeah, I think that the expectation should be to finish at the worst with a share of a Big Ten regular season title. And I think that this type of season, in which I really think that there's 4 teams that are capable of maybe hanging a banner this year, is maybe more meaningful than it's been in the last couple. I mean, I think Purdue as a whole, obviously with Zach Edey, was maybe the highest quality team, at least last year, that we've seen in a little bit. Since Michigan State, at least, the 18-19 and the 19-20. But I do think that because of the competition at the top of the peak this year, I think that hanging a banner here would be extremely meaningful for Michigan State. This isn't some watered-down conference this year. I think there's a bunch of very quality middle teams, and I think that there's 4-ish teams that have kind of separated themselves, and Michigan State just beat one of them at home today.
It's a dogfight week in, week out, day in and day out in the Big Ten. And really quick, I just want to end it here with you, DK. Who just deserves more love than we've given, so far, not just this show, but maybe the last few weeks? I'm just going to go really quick. Frankie Fiddler, maybe I'm caught up in the moment, but his last 2 games, I just can't not recognize them. His strong second half and the one prior to this. And then, he had 11 points, 9 of them in the second half. You talked about that 3 that he had. Is Frankie Fiddler coming along? Could be. But outside of Fiddler, is there anyone that you think is going a little too under the radar for your liking, DK, that you want to shine up right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fiddler is the guy for sure, but I guess I think we just need to continue to have the conversation about what Jeremy Fears has meant to this team. I thought he handled the ball pressure extremely well this game. I think that he had some spots where Michigan State was lagging offensively, got himself into the paint, threw that oop to Cooper, from half court to Carr. I think that he's just continued to grow this season, and he's given you this stable 9-6, 10-6. If he's able to do that, I mean, he's more than capable, I think, of continuing to build upon this. And, we've talked about the potential of how special he could be this year. I think it's, we're starting to see the consistency. I don't know if he'll take that full step this year, but I think there's a building block of a lot to what's going on right now with Jeremy Fears.
The floor for the floor general is in a really good spot, and he's got a lot of room to grow. So it's just been a great season just for the guards overall. DK, can't thank you enough, my man. We will free you and let you go into the world of parenting. I'm just going to talk about hockey just for a hot second, even a little gymnastics. But DK over at Spartans Illustrated, you are an icon, a legend. Thanks a lot for carving out some time to join us, my man. You're the best.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
You got it. Now let's talk about hockey here for a little bit, gang, because Michigan State, they did walk away with 4 points from this Michigan series, both Friday and Saturday. And we talked with Jeremy Dewar last week that, hey, if you can get 4 points, ideally you want 6. You want both wins outright. But 4, you could talk yourself into a good weekend, and that's just what Michigan State had right there. Now we're going to work our way backwards. We're going to talk about Saturday night's game. 4-1 win over the Wolverines. They scored 2 goals in both the first and second period. And, it was Charlie Stramel, Isaac Howard with both 3 points. Stramel had 2 goals, one of them shorthanded and an assist. Now Howard, he had 3 assists, still reigns as the king amongst point getters in college hockey. Trey Augustine, 34 saves on Saturday night. That's the second most he's had in a game this season. Now, Friday, it was a loss, of course. That's why they only got 1 point. 3-2 loss in overtime, let up a goal with 5-ish minutes left. Carson Dewar, Joey Larson, each with a goal and an assist. So, again, number 1 Michigan State hockey against number 10 Michigan. They walk out of that weekend with the most points and still keeping pretty good pace at the top of the Big Ten. Now, here's a sport we don't often talk about, gymnastics. Not just gymnastics. No. Number 6 ranked in the nation, gymnastics. Now, they had their meet at Breslin Center right before the weekend here. Season high score of 197.500. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to act like I know what that means. I just know that when it's a team high for the season, And you're number 6 in the country? Well, that's real dang good. So it was a program record crowd of 6,251 at Breslin Center. This is the 3rd straight dual meet win over Michigan for Mike Rowe's program. Nikki Smith and Gabriel Stephen also both with their high in the all-around, taking 1st and 2nd place in that one. So no, we don't get a lot of gymnastics talks on this show, but we have to mention it after, well, okay, of course, beating Michigan in a dual meet, but being top 10 in the nation, and also just keeping it rolling over there. What an exciting program. And again, Mike Rowe, we had him on the show, I think it was a year or two ago. Like, instantly within the first few minutes, you could see how people are drawn to him. Like, that is a coach that you want leading a program here, and lucky to have him at Michigan State. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you, Tom Izzo. Thank you, the basketball team. Couldn't not have been possibly more down in the dumps Saturday night after that Detroit Lions game. I know not everyone's a Michigan State Detroit Lions fan, but for that contingent that are, my God, I did not think that a regular season basketball win could get me off the mat. But you know what? He's an on-time Tom Izzo. Yes, he is. It was never a doubt. Like I've never been more confident going into a game against a top 25 team in my entire life. Both with what we saw after Penn State. Okay, we talked after the Penn State game that was kind of the perfect win. They got it somewhat comfortably, but, oh, man, there was a lot of holes that Tom Izzo can poke. He mentioned that in the press conference, and I started to feel good. Okay, Tom Izzo with 3 days of prep against Illinois after a bad win. Oh, yeah, that's fire up the engines. We're going to win this one. But what made me feel even better is I saw a tweet. I think it was Friday night. Tom Izzo at Fieldhouse. That's a bar in East Lansing. He was there, presumably checking to see if his players were there, and I don't think he saw them. Different times in East Lansing. Oh, man. Team's dialed. Team's so dialed. Let's go. All right, guys. You guys are all the best. We will be back throughout the week, of course, talking about this Rutgers game on the other side of the week. There's a big recruiting weekend for football that we're going to talk about, hopefully, with our guy Ryan O'Blennis over at Spartans Illustrated. But until then, take care of yourselves the rest of the weekend. Have a great week. Love you all. Go Green.